should be more grateful, shouldn't I? I have no right to moan about this lockdown. I mean, I'm not a doctor or a nurse on the front line. I mean, they're risking their lives every day to keep us safe. I'm not a key worker, keeping the country running. Not old or vulnerable. And I'm not alone. I'm in a comfortable, middle-class home surrounded by my family. I should be more grateful. But it's not as simple as that. I'm Joe. I'm 19, going on 20. And I'm gay. Even saying the word makes me cringe. Makes me feel ashamed somehow. I know I need to snap out of this mindset of thinking that I should be happier, more grateful. LGBT youth are among the worst hit by lockdown. Google it if you don't believe me. And I can tell you from experience that it's true. I was in my first year of studying history in London when lockdown hit in March 2020. I was living my best life back then. I had loads of LGBT friends there. I stayed up all night partying and never saw the mornings. I felt part of a community. I was happy. I was myself. I was out. But lockdown changed all that. I had to move back home to be with my family in the Wolds when Boris went on TV and said we're all going into lockdown for the first time. Things are so different back here. I'm not happy. I'm not myself. And I'm not out. No one back here knows my deepest, darkest secret. Oh, I've been thrown back into the closet for nearly a year now and it's hard. It doesn't look like things are going to get any easier, are they? Uni's now online, fully. So I'm stuck here. Can't escape back to London where I'm surrounded by the people who truly know me. And I'm too scared to come out to my family. I just don't know how they're going to react. It doesn't feel like the right time somehow. I read that charities have advised LGBT kids to press pause on coming out until we get the right support, and it's sad that we're living in a world where charities are advising us to do that, especially after all the progress that's been made in the last decade. Now all I can see ahead of me is this dreaded closet. My family aren't the most liberal. They'll see a gay person on TV and they'll pull a face or they'll say something you just shouldn't say. But I can't correct them in case I out myself. I don't want them to start thinking things or questioning me. Instead, I've got to watch my mannerisms, the way I walk and talk. If I want to read a queer book, I've got to hide the cover under something. If I want to watch a queer TV show, I've got to put it on quietly and desperately hope that no one walks in and sees me. It's like I've got imposter syndrome or something. To think. Less than a year ago, I was stood on some sticky table in a bar in Soho with a mic in my hand butchering Super Trooper. I thought it was Meryl Streep. But now the only performance I'm giving is pretending to be someone I'm not. It's like all those months away where I could be myself were for nothing. I'm back to square one. Lockdown has really reduced everyone's social circles, and that's been hard enough for most people. But it's harder for LGBT people. We really do rely on our community for support, and we need it now more than ever. It's hard being away from my queer friends. They're like an extended family, in a way. They're my support network. And since lockdown started, everyone across the country has been encouraged to seek support from their families and local communities. But it's not simple for us. So many of us face queer phobia from our families that it's not as easy to just say, talk to your family for support. It's not like that for everyone. But there is hope. That's what I need to focus on. It can be so easy to get sucked into all the negativity around lockdown, can't it? I need to remember the positives. My mate Hannah came out to her family during lockdown. She said it didn't feel right to keep her sexuality hidden from them while she was living back home like I am. So she took the plunge and told her mum. And her mum was fine with it. Better than that, She was supportive. I'm sure my mum would be the same if I told her. When I tell her, I mean. I've been trying to read up on my LGBT heroes. I read online that it's something positive you can do to affirm your identity during lockdown. I spent ages on the computer reading. I found out about Ian McKellen, who came out as gay in 1988 live on the radio as this act of protest against Section 28. If he could do it in the face of such adversity like that, so can I. I can do this. I can do this.
Vulnerable. That's what I am, apparently. Clinically extremely vulnerable. It's a horrible word. Strikes fear into your heart. Strikes fear into mine. It makes you feel worthless, frightened. I'm having to shield at home, alone. I wish they wouldn't use that word, vulnerable. I never used to feel vulnerable or frightened before this, but I do now. I'm frightened to leave the house, I'm frightened to go to the shops, I'm frightened to go for a walk, I'm frightened to go to my doctor's. I shouldn't be frightened to go to my doctor's, should I? Dorothy, my friend, rang me up the other day. She'd had a fall, bless her. She wouldn't phone for an ambulance. She was frightened, you see. Frightened to go to the hospital in case she caught the virus. Well, it's the message they're always spouting. Save the NHS and do not contact your local practice unless you need to. Well, that doesn't help, does it? I told her she should have called an ambulance. It could have been serious. She shouldn't be frightened. But she was. And that's not right. I feel alone, isolated, and it's horrible. Loneliness can eat you up and swallow you whole. Oh, I've lived on my own for years. You'd think I'd be used to it. But does anybody get used to it? Being on their own? It's the situation. And I am trying to be at peace with the situation. But it's hard. Hard to be positive. You switch on the radio and all they talk about is how many more deaths and how fast the virus is spreading. Doom and gloom. It's a corona coaster of highs and lows. That's what I call it. A corona coaster. Keep occupied. Something else they keep telling us to do. So I am. I'm sorting through all the letters my parents wrote to each other during the Second World War. I've kept them all. Every one. They've been in my attic for years and years, and now I'm putting them all together on the computer. A sort of record of the past. It struck me when I was reading them how my parents' experiences in the war were similar to what we're experiencing now in this pandemic. My father was on the front during the war, and my mother was left to manage on her own at home. She wrote my father about an intense feeling of loneliness. Oh, the way she describes it, well, it's the same way that I'm feeling now. I never met him, my father, until I was 2 years old. Oh, I hope it's not going to be 2 years until I see my daughter. Oh, I couldn't cope with that. No, I could not cope with that. In one letter, my mother says, the war is finally over. And she describes the joy and the jubilation of VE Day. Reading her words makes me long even more for an end to this pandemic. Eh? We could celebrate in much the same way. Well, it would be fitting. One great, big, joyous celebration. If it would just hurry up and be over. Over like the war. For me, one of the lowest points of this lockdown was when I tottered up to our local church, all masked up, ready for the morning service, only to discover that the church had been forced to close. Oh, it was a shock. Going to church, well, it's like a lifeline for me. And it was a reason to leave the house, and I saw people. Makes you feel like you're part of something. Seeing people. Well, I tottered back home and I wept and wept for hours. Oh, I know you think that's silly, but when you've had your lifeline cut off, it was that same afternoon when she rang me, my granddaughter. And I'm not going to lie. What she said to me, her words, they came at me like a train. Caught me off guard. I was confused, you see. Well, it's something we didn't talk about in my day. I mean, I knew about it. Showing me age. I'm making excuses. I love my granddaughter more than anything. And nothing ever change that. Isn't that all that should really matter? And because of that, just because of that, shouldn't it be one of the easiest things in the world to accept? Still, it's a hard thing to hear from your own flesh and blood. And then it came to me, all in one moment, about the way she must have been suffering. She said she felt trapped. And the way I'd always seen her wasn't the way she'd felt. She felt confused and lonely and isolated. I wept in floods. I was inconsolable. Not for myself this time. For her. For her. I want it to become second nature. You know, some things happen in life that force you to reevaluate your views on the world. But you mustn't feel forced. You must do it willingly. And Joe's helped me with that, of course.
Hi, Meg.
Oh, hello, love. I've just been thinking about you.
I got you shopping.
Oh, thank you. Just pop it by the back door. Thanks, love.
God, so how are you doing, Meg?
Not too bad. Better for seeing you. How have you been?
All right, I suppose. Still trying to work up the courage to talk to Mum about, you know.
You can do it, love. If a funny old lady like me can find acceptance, I know your family will too. Now, come on. Let's sit on the bench. And you can talk to me like I'm your mother.
All right. Hey, Mum.
Hello, son. Everything all right?
Yeah, I need to tell you something.
Of course. What is it?
Well, Oh, I don't know how to do this.
Yes, you can. Come on.
Oh, okay, Mum, I'm gay.
There you go. And you know what your mum will say? She'll say it doesn't matter. You're her son, and she'll love you regardless. I'm sure of it, Joe. The next time you walk through that gate to bring me my shopping, you'll be a free man. You can do it. You've got this.
Thanks, Meg. Right, I better get going.
Good luck.
Mum, I'm back. I need to tell you something.
Pride Back Home was written by Josh Whittingham. Joe was played by Liam Asplin and Meg by Linda Harrison. Produced by Jerome Whittingham for Wolds Pride.